Hi there, guys. Back again after another long hiatus. But I'm just here to talk to you about something that I've been thinking about over the last couple of days. Um, I've recently been reading a new Slayer book called what's that? The Road of Slayers, which you can see here. Yeah, by Josh Reynolds. Pretty awesome book. And it got me thinking about dwarfs again, especially Slayers. But then I sort of started thinking properly about it and working out ways in which I'd like to see the army change in their new edition. And so I came up with what I consider to be quite a nice wish list. Once again, I say this is a wish list, and this is my own personal opinion, so none of this is guaranteed to be in or anything of the sort. So, see what you think of it, and I'll just read through it and place some comments below about what you think and the direction that you'd like to see me going in. So, the first thing I was looking to see in the new comic book is obviously a big plastic kit. We've seen it with things like the Mutalith, Slaughter Brutes, uh, the Two Kings got their big Necro Sphinx and stuff like that. And I was trying to work out what the dwarves would get, and it came down to me looking through another book, actually, another Black Library book, The Great Betrayal. And in here, Nick Kim talks about these creatures called the Grunty Duras, and these are sort of huge ancestor statues, like stone giants, if you will, that have been animated and brought to life by wolves. Now, I thought I was trying to work out what like a big thing would be for dwarves, and that sounds pretty cool. Like a huge living statue that's like on a monstrous sized base, maybe ogre sized or something, I guess. And it's just their big monster creature because we don't have any of them. Just something nice and impacty, crunch into combat, something unbreakable and poundy and stuff. That would be pretty cool. Then you can tie in some runes to them, like you could bind runes to the statues, for example, maybe from the rune list, like you would onto weapons and cannons and things. The other big thing I was thinking is maybe they will have like a grand cannon of some kind. Now, if any of you have played Red Alert, you'll be aware that the French, I think, in that game have a massive cannon. Now, that cannon is like a massive thing on like a huge base, and I reckon that'd be pretty cool. You can have like dwarves all over it and stuff, and you could either be like a massive cannon or, I don't know, some strange organ gun contraption or a huge flame cannon, something like that. But I thought that'd be pretty cool, and you can see that sitting in a dwarf hole, for example. And there's actually an illustration of one of them in the Warhammer rulebook. Um, it's a Skaven scene, Skaven are battling the dwarves, and the dwarves got a big cannon sat at the back. And I thought that would be a pretty cool idea to have as like an alternative big kid. There could also be something like an airship, maybe as well. Who knows? The second big thing was thinking about special characters. Now, special characters are a big thing in the movies nowadays. You can see a lot of them, like much more varied selection. And so I was going through a list of the characters I've seen in Dwarf books in the past, um, and working out whether I'd like to see them as well. So here we go. Got Gotrix and Felix. Now, this could be a potentially interesting one. I don't imagine they would be in it because they're not strictly Dwarven. But you can have Gotrix and Felix as a pair. Um, they act a little bit like a skirmishing independent character, as it were, fighting on the battlefield, but sort of doing their own thing. Not they don't use the leadership of the general and stuff. It's Gotrix and Felix, etc. You can have some pretty cool rules written into that. I mean, Gotrix is nigh unkillable, pretty much. But it'd be quite interesting to see if we can actually get Gotrix to finally complete his doom. Next, we've got Joseph Bugman, who was in the original book. Yeah. And I'm fairly sure he'd stay pretty standard and he'd get his Rangers. Thoric Ironbrow and Thorgrim Grudgebearer, they're also in this rulebook. I could see them pretty much staying the same. I mean, the Anvil of Doom's got some updates that need doing from the errata. You could probably have some cool special runes, make them a little bit more interesting. Maybe take an idea from the Storm Magic, perhaps, for how that works. Pretty cool. Then we've got Malachi Mackison. Now, if any of you have read the Slayer books, then you'll know that Malachi Mackison is an engineer and Slayer at the same time, and he created things like airships and also the Goblin Hewer machine that you saw in Storm of Chaos as part of the Slayer army list. Now it'd be nice to see him back, and he comes with Goblin Hewer perhaps. They do it as a fine cast model. Just something cool and original out there perhaps. And drawing on the Slayer thing, so quite cool. Grombrindle. Now, would the White Dwarf be in there as a mega character to use? That's probably something that they wouldn't do, but quite cool to see him, especially in sort of like different garbs. Like he could like take on the appearance of a regular soldier. He can like reveal himself during a combat phase. That'd be pretty cool. Because obviously, if you've read any of the stories about him, he walks everywhere in secret, and you don't really know if he's there. King Cazador. Now this guy's a pretty cool guy that was in the Warhammer Invasion card game, and his hold was overrun by goblins, and he bears a huge grudge against them. I think that'd be pretty cool because you can have a really awesome new model for him that has cool base work and goblins everywhere and stuff. Yeah. Ungrim Iron Fist and Garagrim Iron Fist. Now these two are slayers of the Slayer Keep, and you could potentially use them in the sense of having a Slayer only army or a Slayer specific army. So an army tailored towards maybe having more Slayers or tainting them into troop choices perhaps. Maybe only making a specific choice available, so maybe you can have things like the Doomseekers from Storm of Chaos in that army because of them. King Elric, you might remember him from this rulebook. He's the guy on the shield there. He kind of became a standard Lord choice, but he was a character in his own right, and it'd be cool to see him back as well because he'd have a cool shield bearer. Really awesome. And then something different. I was thinking about Dwarf Queen Helga. Now she was a model that's in the collector's range on the Games Workshop website, and it'd be cool to see a dwarf woman as a HQ choice, mainly because it would be interesting from a gaming point of view and interesting from a modelling point of view as well, because it'd be cool to see like a dwarf woman warrior regiment or something. I mean, that doesn't really happen, but you know, they do exist, and why wouldn't they be as good fighters as everyone else in the dwarf fold, pretty much. Yeah, so that was my sort of thoughts for special characters. I know there's a lot more different special characters out there that could be included in a dwarf army, but this was sort of my rundown of a cool wish list that I'd like to see. Yeah, I mean, of all of them, I think it'd be cool to see King Cazador and Ungrim Iron Fist and have sort of a Slayer-based army. That'd be pretty fun. Talking of Slayers, I've been discussing this on Beasts of War forums and talking to people about the Slayer lists from Storm of Chaos. And what we changed in the new one, well, if we did it. Now, I have a real problem with Slayers in that they always die before they get to where they're going. Now, I know you can sort that out by having other units in the way and taking the opportunities and stuff. But I've had a unit of 20, and by the time it gets to the enemy, it's down to unit 10. So what to do about that? And I was thinking about potentially giving them a 5+ ward save or 6+ ward save versus shooting attacks. A little bit like the Mastering of Brungi that can go on runic standards, but tied into their tattoos. like their Slayer tattoos, it doesn't let them die horribly in a nasty arrow storm rather than actually in combat. Now, we were talking about this with someone on the forum, and they were saying that that might be slightly overpowered, and now I've read sort of like their reasoning, I can see where that's coming from. Now, Savage Boys can get this, but it involves a lot of points cost to get to that point. Just having it as an indicative thing on Slayer is probably not the best way to do it. Maybe you could have it so that special characters have this, Slayer tattoos, which were from Storm of Chaos, or, you know, maybe it's not such a good thing at all. I definitely think that Slayers need to have an update. The moles need to go into flying cast anyway, but it'd be interesting to see what they do with Slayers, especially since they're such an iconic part of the Dwarf lineup in Warhammer Fantasy. Now, next up is talking about new models, and one of the biggest disappointments coming into this edition was that we had no new hammer models. Hammerers are awesome. High weapon skill, high strength, and everything that comes with being a hammerer and hanging out with someone with royal blood. Fantastic. Definitely need an update for them because they're a really cool choice that I think most people should get. Iron Breakers, on the other hand, we have perfectly fine models for them, they just need to be fine casted, which would be great to see. On the side of the hammers, actually, maybe you could see a plastic kit come out for them. It would be like a 10-man plastic kit, perhaps. Would be quite interesting to see, actually, yeah. A plastic Dwarf Lord kit would be fantastic. So pretty much a dwarf kit that's akin to the Empire General, and sort of the things we've seen with the wizard box and stuff like that. But a dwarf kit allows you to have lots of different weapon options. You know, one pair of legs, a body, a couple of heads, a couple of arm choices and stuff. A scenic base, just like if you're standing on an oath stone, etc. But a really cool sort of like, it'd be around 12-15 quid like they do most of their general boxes, but it would be a box set that contains options to create whatever kind of lord you like, based on the weapon options you can choose from. Next to that, it'd be nice to see new sculpts for both the Rune Lords and Rune Smiths, because I think they're a little old now. And last but not least, gyrocopters need an update. Gyrocopters need to drop bombs. Gyrocopters need to be able to fly over units and drop a small blast template onto the enemies, setting off explosives, because that's what I reckon gyrocopters should do. As well as having the steam cannon, they should have like one bomb attached to them that they can drop on a unit and it booms. That'd be quite fun. Or it uses like the flying base that they're on over the models. You drop it on, like a little tiny mini grudge for it. That's quite fun. But yes, that's just my thinking at the moment about a new Dwarf book. Please place some comments below. Tell me what you think about this. I'd be interested to know what you think. From all the rumours, we're not particularly going to be getting a Dwarf release anytime soon, which is a big bummer. But maybe it'll be in the near future, maybe next year. So I've actually done my Dwarf collection a lot more since I've collected far too many Chaos Space Marines right now. But yes, there you go. Thanks for watching. Leave some comments below, and see you next time.